In a world where most people rush to react, argue, defend or explode, the real strength belongs to the one who stays calm, the one who refuses to take the bait and watches the storm without becoming part of it. As the Buddha once said, "You are not punished for your anger, but punished by your anger." Think about that, because every time you let anger control you, you hand your power away. But when you train your mind, when you learn to answer with silence instead of rage, no one can control you. Not with their words, not with confusion, not even with fear. This is the essence of Buddhist wisdom, to rise so far above the noise that your peace cannot be touched. In this video, I'll share with you 7 powerful lessons that will train your mind to do exactly that. If you're tired of being easily triggered and you want to be untouchable, steady, and deeply calm, then listen closely, because once you understand this, you'll never react the same way again. Lesson 1. Detachment is the doorway to true inner power. In today's world, many people live like leaves in the wind, blown around by emotions, opinions, and situations they cannot command. A single harsh word can ruin their entire mood. One small setback, and they start doubting their own worth. This happens because they are tied to approval, success, comfort, reputation, and results. In Buddhism, this is called upadana, meaning clinging or grasping. It is this mental and emotional attachment that gives birth to suffering. The Buddha explained that suffering does not arise from what happens to you, but from how tightly you hold on to what you want to happen. You cling to being liked, to being right, to being in control, and each time life refuses to match your expectations, your peace breaks apart. Why? Because your happiness was never truly in your hands. It was leased out to things outside of you. But here comes the shift. When you start practicing detachment, not from love or compassion, but from control and expectations, something powerful unfolds. You begin to see that nothing outside of you can disturb your inner calm unless you hand it that power. Detachment never means you stop caring. It means you care deeply, but with wisdom. You show up with love. You act with intention. But you no longer tie your identity to the result. Whether someone praises you or insults you, it doesn't move you. Whether you win or lose, it doesn't define you. Your center remains still. This is not coldness. This is clarity. Because when you stop reacting emotionally to everything, you create space. And in that space, peace grows. When you truly detach, you become like a tree in a storm, rooted, calm, and unshaken. If someone insults you, you don't need to respond. You smile because you understand. Their words are a reflection of them, not you. If someone praises you, you smile the same way, because you know your value was never based on what anyone thought in the first place. This is inner power. The person who no longer depends on anything external to feel okay becomes untouchable. You don't react, you don't resist, you observe, you breathe, you let go. And in that letting go, you stop being controlled by the world and start mastering yourself. That's when true peace begins. And from that peace, unshakable power rises. Lesson 2. Observe, don't absorb. One of the greatest skills Buddhism teaches is the art of watching without reacting. Life constantly throws emotions, words, and energies at you. Some pleasant, many unpleasant. People project their pain, their insecurities, their anger. Situations arise that seem unfair or frustrating. And in those moments, most people absorb everything. They carry it in their chest, let it swirl in their minds, and soon they become what they were reacting to. They get angry because someone else was angry. They feel heavy because someone else dumped their negativity on them. But here's the truth. You don't have to absorb the energy around you. You can observe it and let it pass. Buddhist mindfulness practice, especially through Vipassana meditation, trains your mind to become like a still lake. No matter what drops into it, a stone, a leaf, a storm, it creates ripples, yes, but it always returns to stillness. In the same way, your mind can witness what's happening without becoming what's happening. When someone speaks with anger, observe the anger, but don't catch it. See it for what it is, a temporary wave passing through their own suffering. When someone criticizes you unfairly, notice how it affects your body and mind, but don't become that reaction. Breathe, watch, let it rise and let it fall. You are not your thoughts. You are not your emotions. You are the awareness behind them, the silent observer that remains steady no matter how loud the mind becomes. This awareness gives you freedom, because once you realize that every feeling, every thought, every judgment is just a passing cloud, you stop chasing them. You stop fearing them. You stop letting them control your behavior. Think of it like this. If someone hands you a burning coal, but you don't grab it, you don't get burned. But if you grab it and hold on to it, now you suffer. That's what absorbing others' negativity does to you. It turns you into a mirror for their pain. But when you observe instead of absorb, you create emotional distance. You stay grounded. You stay light. And no matter how chaotic the world becomes, you are no longer ruled by it. This is not weakness. This is mastery. Because the most powerful person is not the one who controls others. It's the one who has learned to control themselves. So next time the world throws something at you, pause. Don't react. Watch it. Breathe through it. Let it pass. You are not here to carry everyone's energy. You are here to stand in your own. Lesson 3. The power is always in the pause. In every difficult moment, before the explosion, before the regret, before the storm, there's a tiny space. A brief moment between what happens to you and how you respond. That moment is small. Most people miss it. But that moment is everything. The Buddha understood this deeply. He taught that we are not prisoners of what happens. We become prisoners of our automatic reactions, and those reactions are fast. Someone insults you, and the ego wants to snap back. Someone cuts you off in traffic, and anger surges like a fire. A challenge appears, and fear grips you instantly. But here's the truth. You are not that first emotion. You are not the knee-jerk reaction. You are the one who can pause and choose. That pause is power. That pause is freedom. In that brief moment, if you train yourself, you can take a breath, come back to your center, and ask, what is the wise response here? Not the emotional one, not the habitual one, but the conscious one. Most suffering begins because we react blindly. We say words we don't mean. We take actions we later regret. And all of it happens because we let emotions hijack the moment. But when you insert a pause, just a breath, a heartbeat of stillness, you break the pattern. You interrupt the storm before it floods your mind. You step out of your conditioned habits and into awareness. Buddhist practice trains this through meditation. You sit, you watch the breath. A thought comes, a sensation arises, but you don't act. You pause. This rewires your brain. It teaches you to feel without reacting, to notice without being controlled. The more you practice this, the stronger your pause becomes. You go from instantly reacting to instantly observing. You learn to speak not to hurt, but to heal. You learn to act not out of impulse, but from grounded clarity. And over time you realize the pause didn't just prevent damage, it created space for wisdom. You didn't just avoid reacting, you rose above the chaos. That's real strength. Not how fast you react, but how deeply you can pause. Because in that pause, you gain your power back. You reclaim your inner space. And from that stillness, you move with intention, not emotion. So next time something shakes you, remember you don't have to react. You can pause, you can breathe, and in that breath, you become free. Lesson 4. Let the fire burn out on its own. When someone throws anger at you, the natural instinct is to throw it back. You feel the heat rising in your chest. Your thoughts race, and suddenly you're in a battle of emotions, trying to prove, defend, or destroy. But Buddhism offers a radical and liberating truth. You don't have to fuel the fire, you can let it burn out on its own. The Buddha taught that hatred is never ended by hatred. Not once in human history has more anger healed another's anger. Only non-hatred, only understanding and stillness can bring peace. When someone directs negativity toward you, they are handing you a torch. If you take it, the fire spreads. But if you refuse to pick it up, it dies. That's what inner mastery looks like. It's not about being passive or weak. It's about knowing that engaging in every argument, defending yourself against every insult, and reacting to every provocation drains your peace and strengthens your ego. The ego wants to fight, but the soul wants to stay free. Imagine this. Someone comes to you full of rage. They scream, they insult. But you remain calm. You don't argue. You don't defend. You simply let them speak. And when they're done, you choose silence. No reaction, no emotional response, just presence. At first, it may confuse them. Then it disarms them, because they realize something they never expected. They can no longer control you. Your refusal to respond is not weakness. It's a higher form of power. Because when you don't return anger with anger, you don't carry it in your heart. You stay light. You stay free. Think of it like this. If someone hands you a heavy rock and you refuse to carry it, who holds the burden? They do. That's exactly what happens with emotional fire. If you don't pick it up, it stays with them and slowly extinguishes on its own. Letting the fire burn out also protects your mind. Every reaction you make strengthens a habit in the brain. If you keep responding to negativity with more negativity, you train yourself to be reactive, angry, and unstable. But if you consistently choose calmness and space, you rewire your mind for peace, for wisdom, for control. You become like a stone temple in the middle of a storm. No matter how hard the wind blows, it cannot be moved. That's who you're becoming. A person whose peace can't be disturbed, because you've learned that your energy is sacred and you refuse to waste it on meaningless fires. So next time someone tries to pull you into their drama, ask yourself, is it worth my peace? Do I need to light my own soul on fire just to win this moment? The answer is no. Stay quiet. Stay centered. Let their fire burn out while you remain untouched by the flames, because your peace is not something they can take. It's something you protect with your silence, your awareness, and your refusal to be moved. Lesson 5. Silence is the language of the wise. In a world where noise is constant, opinions are loud, and everyone seems to be in a race to be heard, silence has become rare and powerful. Buddhism teaches us that silence is not simply the absence of words. It is the presence of deep awareness. It is the space where wisdom lives. In the Dhammapada it is written, "Better than 1,000 hollow words is one word that brings peace." And sometimes even that one word is unnecessary. The person who has mastered silence doesn't need to explain themselves. They don't need to fight for attention or prove their worth or out-talk anyone. They speak when it is necessary. They stay silent when it is wise. And when they do speak, their words carry weight because they are rooted in clarity, not reaction. You see, when you speak from a place of ego, you often say things that bring regret. You say too much. You defend too hard. You argue too long. You lose your peace just to win an argument that, in the end, didn't matter. But when you begin to cultivate inner silence, you realize that not every action deserves a response. Not every opinion needs a reaction. Not every insult needs to be answered. This doesn't mean you allow people to walk over you. It means you have become so secure within yourself that you no longer feel the need to prove anything. You realize that your worth is not found in how loud your voice is, but in how steady your spirit remains. Silence is not weakness. Silence is control. It is the ability to stay grounded when provoked. It is the decision to not let external chaos stir your internal peace. When someone attacks you with words, you are faced with two choices. You can react, defend, and fire back, playing the same game of ego, or you can remain silent, not out of fear, but out of deep understanding, because you know their words are a reflection of them, not you. And here is where silence becomes your armor. Imagine someone shouting at you, trying to provoke you, expecting you to break, but you say nothing. You look at them, not with hate, not with arrogance, but with complete stillness. That stillness speaks louder than any words could. It says, "I do not fear you. I do not need your validation, and I will not give you the power to control my state of mind." That is power. That is spiritual maturity, and that is the language of the wise. The Buddha himself was a master of silence. He would sit quietly when questioned by those who wanted to trap him with words. He knew engaging with ignorance often fuels it. Silence, on the other hand, often dissolves it. When you choose silence over reaction, you do three things. You protect your energy. Words are powerful. Engaging in constant debates and emotional reactions drains your mental energy. When you stay silent, you save that energy for what truly matters: your inner growth, your peace, your purpose. You gain clarity. In silence, you can observe clearly. You can see the situation for what it really is. You can notice your own emotional response before it explodes. And when you do choose to speak, your words come from wisdom, not from wounds. You break the pattern. Most people expect a reaction. They thrive on conflict. Your silence short-circuits their control. It leaves them confused, powerless. They cannot play with someone who refuses to enter the game. This is why monks, sages, and wise masters throughout history have embraced silence, not just as a practice, but as a way of life. Because silence is healing. Silence is discipline. Silence is strength in its purest form. And here's something powerful. Silence isn't only about not speaking to others. It's about learning to be silent with yourself. How often do we drown in mental noise, judging ourselves, worrying, reliving the past, fearing the future? True silence is when your thoughts no longer control you, when your mind becomes still like a calm lake, and your awareness simply observes without fear, without craving, without noise. That kind of silence is not just powerful, it's transformational. So if you truly want to become untriggerable, if you want to live from a place of deep peace, begin with this practice. Don't rush to speak. Don't respond out of impulse. Breathe, pause, and ask yourself, is this silence more powerful than anything I could say right now? Most of the time it is, because silence doesn't mean nothing is happening. Silence means everything is happening internally. It's in that silence that you grow. It's in that silence that you heal. And it's in that silence that you discover the power you've always had, but were too distracted to notice. Lesson 6. Acceptance ends all suffering. At the heart of Buddhist wisdom lies a truth that many struggle to face. Suffering is not caused by what happens to us, but by how we resist what happens. We suffer not because life is difficult, but because we believe it shouldn't be. We resist the pain, the loss, the discomfort, the unfairness. And in that resistance, we create a storm inside ourselves. The Buddha taught that all suffering arises from craving, from wanting reality to be something other than it is. We crave certainty in an uncertain world. We long for comfort in a world that never stays the same. We chase control in a universe that owes us nothing. But life will not always bend to your plans. People will disappoint you. Dreams will collapse. Health will weaken. Loved ones will part ways. And no amount of worry, control, or resistance will change that truth. This is why acceptance is not weakness. Acceptance is freedom. But let's be clear, acceptance does not mean you enjoy what's happening. It doesn't mean you agree with injustice, betrayal, or failure. It means you stop waging war with reality in your mind. You release the inner struggle that leaves you stuck, bitter, and drained. When something painful arises, your first reaction might be to think, "This should not be happening." But that thought alone multiplies your suffering. You feel the pain of the event and the pain of resistance. Acceptance, however, is saying, "This is what it is. I don't have to like it, but I don't have to fight it either." Picture yourself caught in the rain with no umbrella. You can shout at the sky, curse the clouds, and grow angry at being soaked. Or you can breathe, feel the rain on your skin, and simply keep walking. Either way, you are still wet. But only one response brings peace. This is the heart of Buddhist acceptance, an inner surrender to the truth of the moment. Not because you're giving up, but because you're waking up. Waking up to the truth that fighting the present moment only makes the pain heavier. Waking up to see that peace isn't found by forcing life to bend to your will, but by learning to be at peace with what already is. Now let's be clear, this doesn't mean you stop striving. It simply means you stop wrestling with the way life unfolds. You still take action where it matters. You still change the things that are within your reach. But you no longer poison your own heart by resisting what lies outside of your control. And here's the beauty. Acceptance also sets you free from other people's behavior, because let's be honest, you can't control how people act. Some will misunderstand you, some will disrespect you, some will even mistreat you. You could spend your whole life trying to change them and still lose yourself in the process. Or you could accept who they are and from that place of calm draw your boundaries, not out of rage, but out of clarity. And when you do, something shifts. You stop needing them to act a certain way just to feel okay inside. You stop being held hostage by their behavior. Instead, you begin to live from a place of inner steadiness. And here's the deeper truth. Even with yourself, acceptance is always the first step to transformation. You cannot change what you refuse to face. You cannot heal from what you continue to deny. So accept your flaws. Accept your mistakes. Accept the shadows you'd rather avoid, not to stay stuck in them, but because only from full awareness can real evolution begin. And here's the paradox, so simple yet so powerful. The moment you stop fighting your pain, it begins to ease. The moment you stop running from fear, it starts to loosen its hold on you. When you finally say, "This is how it is right now," you open the door for peace to walk in. Acceptance isn't the end of the road. It's the beginning. It's where you stop forcing and you start flowing. You stop being chained to outcomes and instead you become the master of your inner world. Now let's take this deeper. When you accept life as it is, you move in alignment with reality itself. And in that alignment, everything begins to shift. Not because you pushed harder, but because you stopped blocking it with resistance. Out of that stillness, peace rises, clarity rises, strength rises. You're no longer struggling against the current of life. You're moving with it, adjusting with grace, flowing with wisdom. And no, it doesn't mean life suddenly gets easier. It means you grow stronger. You stop being shattered by every loss, every discomfort, every unexpected turn. Why? Because you no longer demand the world to fit your idea of perfect just so you can feel at peace. So next time pain comes knocking, Instead of asking, "Why me?" ask, "What now?" Instead of collapsing into resistance, rise into awareness. Breathe, feel, let it be. You don't have to like it, you don't have to stay stuck in it, but you also don't have to keep fighting it. Acceptance is the doorway to freedom. It doesn't erase the challenge itself, but it removes the suffering you add around the challenge. It clears the noise of resistance and gives you the clarity to see what's next. Because when you learn to accept what is, fully, openly, and without judgment, you become the calm in the storm. You're no longer a victim of circumstance. You're no longer ruled by fear. Instead, you begin to walk through life with the quiet confidence of someone who knows, "I can face whatever comes because I no longer need to fight it." That's what real peace looks like. And the best part? That peace isn't waiting for your life to be perfect. It's waiting for you to stop resisting, right here, right now. And this brings us to something most people completely overlook: the power of focused energy, practiced consistently, over time. In the Buddha's teachings, there's a subtle but life-changing truth. Small, steady efforts of the mind, when practiced again and again, lead to real and lasting transformation. This is called bhavana, the training and cultivation of the mind. Put simply, your life always follows the direction of your attention. When your focus becomes calm, steady, and intentional, even the smallest inner changes can create powerful transformation. But here's the struggle most people face: scattered energy. Their attention is pulled in every direction at once. They react to random remarks. They get lost in endless notifications. They're carried away by emotions they never pause to understand. Their mind races from old regrets to imagined futures, from comparing to doubting, from the present moment to endless noise, over and over again. And this scattered focus doesn't just drain you, it weakens you, because energy without direction is like water without shape. It spills, it fades, it vanishes. But once you begin to gather that energy with mindfulness and clear intention, everything shifts. When your energy is scattered, your reactions become quick, your mind restless, your spirit unsettled. Buddhism offers another way. It teaches us to draw that energy inward, to anchor it in the present moment, to train it, to refine it, to focus it like a beam of light, steady, sharp, and powerful, and then to use that light for growth, peace, and clarity. This isn't a one-time effort, it's a daily practice. With each breath, with every impulse you choose not to chase, with every negative thought you notice but choose not to follow, with every still moment found in the middle of noise. Slowly, something gentle and almost hidden begins to appear. You begin to change from the inside, not because you forced it to happen, but because you allowed it to grow. Let's make this clear. Imagine a single drop of water falling on the same stone each day. One drop looks like nothing at all, but drop after drop, with time, the stone begins to change shape. Your mind works in the same way. Each time you return to awareness, you reshape it. Each moment you choose calm instead of reacting, you strengthen discipline. Every time you hold silence instead of striking back, you build inner power. These little actions may feel small at first, but over time they gather strength. They create real change that becomes part of who you are, not because you forced yourself, but because you practiced with care. This is what brings lasting change. Not sudden sparks of motivation, not loud promises, but steady focus, gentle discipline, and daily mindfulness. And here lies the wonder. The more you turn your energy inward, the more peace you discover outside. The more rooted you are, the less life can shake you, and the more present you become, the more life moves in harmony with your spirit. This is not about perfection. It's about alignment. You begin living true to what matters most: your values, your inner truth, your path. Distractions lose their power, triggers lose their hold, and peace is no longer something you have to chase. It becomes part of your nature. Some may ask, what if I've failed before? What if I lose focus? What if I slip sometimes? The answer is clear: begin again. Begin again and again and again. That is the way of practice. Even wise monks and great teachers have wandered into thought, felt heavy emotions, or fallen back into old habits. But they returned. They brought their attention back, and each time they came back, they grew stronger within. You don't need perfection to change your life. You only need to keep choosing to return to your breath, your center, your practice. This kind of steady energy isn't harsh. It's not about forcing or pushing yourself. It's about gently reminding yourself again and again of what truly matters, and letting your words, actions, and thoughts slowly match it. With time, your nervous system begins to settle, your reactions soften, your breath grows deeper, and your presence is felt not just by you, but also by those around you. You become someone whose calmness spreads peace to others, whose silence speaks more than loud voices, whose energy stays steady no matter what comes, because you've trained yourself moment after moment, choice after choice, to stand firm and strong. That is the quiet strength of focused energy over time. And this is what Buddhism helps us realize. You don't need to conquer the whole world. You only need to meet this moment fully, with mindfulness, with care, and then repeat it. One breath at a time, one pause at a time, one mindful step at a time. When you do, your entire life begins to shift, not suddenly, but deeply, gently, and beautifully. Now you see the true goal isn't to control the outside world. The real goal is to understand and guide yourself. You don't have to win every battle. You don't need to answer every insult. You don't have to be understood or praised by everyone, because real peace, the kind that remains unshaken, doesn't come from changing what's outside. It comes from transforming what's within. Through letting go, you free yourself from what once held you back. Through awareness, you learn to see clearly without being swept away by every wave. Through pausing, you reclaim your strength before emotions take over. Through non-reaction, you let the flame burn out without adding fuel. Through silence, you rise above the noise and become a quiet force of strength. Through acceptance, you stop resisting reality and start moving with it. And with steady focus, you slowly and gently reshape your whole life from the inside. This is not a change that happens in a single day. It is a daily practice, a return to stillness, moment by moment. But the more you walk this path, the stronger and more grounded you become. People may still try to disturb you, life may still test you, yet you will no longer be ruled by it. You will observe it, you will understand it, and you will remain steady within it. That is real freedom. That is true power. So when life tries to shake your balance, remember, you are the mountain. You are the stillness. You are the space that exists between trigger and response. And in that space, nothing can touch you.